Spirit says do. 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 Flowing down, down, down to my soul. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come into the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Love shines in the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace. Forgiveness flows in these rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace. Come bathe in the healing rivers, rivers of grace, flowing down, down, down to my soul.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder on this beautiful Sunday in May. Hello, my name is Ray Knutson, and I'll be the worship leader for today's service. Today, along with the wonderful spring weather, we have several additional reasons to celebrate. First, we will have a very special message from our tireless search committee. Following this, we will have the sermon by our friend and former intern, Christopher Watkins Lamb. And then, after the service, we'll hold our annual congregational meeting. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. If you are a new visitor, please email our office manager, Amy Zen, and let us know how you found us. You will find her email in the Zoom chat. Our church website has a great deal of information about the church and its activities. Now, Please ensure your microphones remain muted and join us for worship.
Hello, UUCB. It's good to be with you today, having spent a wonderful year as your intern in 2018-19. And yes, I wish I was there in person. How things have changed since I was last in your building. Yet, how wonderful that we can do this. Do you feel your togetherness? I've been amazed at the ways it is still possible to be in community. This past year, a large part of my work has been helping UUs make music together virtually, bringing voices and instruments from separate times and spaces into one sound. And I will say it is so nice to know that we don't have to sing alone, even now. In that spirit, I open this space with these words from Reverend Manish Mishra Marzetti. The universe sings no less because time and space wear us thin. The music calls us to recognize our limitations, to recognize that the song is best sung with others. Come, let us worship together.
Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, all hearts beating as one. Light upon light upon light, all disappear into one. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, all hearts beating as one. Light upon light upon light, all disappear into one. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, all hearts beating as one. Light upon light upon light, all disappear into one. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine
And now I invite Kathy Edwards, the chair of the Ministerial Search Committee, to offer a special announcement. Kathy?
Your Ministerial Search Committee is delighted and excited to announce that after a year-long process, we have selected the finalist candidate to be UUCB's settled minister. He is Reverend David Schwartz. Reverend David is a lifelong Unitarian Universalist and graduate of Harvard Divinity School. He currently serves the First Unitarian Society of Chicago and Beverly Unitarian Church, also in Chicago. Because of his warm and experienced ministerial presence, history working towards social justice, high emotional intelligence, passion for our faith, and clear vision of shared ministry, we believe Reverend David Schwartz is the spiritual leader this church seeks. The link to Reverend David's website, which shares his personal and ministerial background, has been shared through email and the newsletter, and it will continue to be available. The congregation will have the opportunity to meet Reverend David during candidating week in June, and then to vote on calling him to be our minister during a congregational meeting on Sunday, June 13th. If approved, Reverend David would join our church in August. The 7 members of the search committee all wanted to share their excitement with finding this candidate for UUCB. And we have a slide. This is the moment every one of us voted 5 out of 5, showing our enthusiastic support to select Reverend David and introduce him to our congregation. A schedule for candidating week will be published this coming week, so that 2 weeks from now, everyone will be able to start meeting Reverend David in person and virtually. We hope you will be as impressed as we have been.
Thank you, Kathy. And we're all very excited, and I just want to express our appreciation for all the work you guys have done. Now, if you have a personal chalice or a candle near your computer, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type into the chat box where your chalice is lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city, if you're joining from outside Boulder County. Now I'd like to say a few words about our annual meeting and then light this morning's chalice. Again, as you know, after church today, we will have our annual congregational meeting. And when I was thinking about that, I started thinking about what a special religion we UUs have. Now, I was raised in the Lutheran Church, and it was great. We had ritual, we had liturgy, and we had creed. In short, we knew everything that we needed to know, and we knew what to teach our children. We knew exactly what we believed, and we could recite it all, and we did, every Sunday morning, without ever really thinking about what we were saying. And in fact, I learned that ritual so well that many years later, when I took my daughters to a local Lutheran church for an Easter Sunday, about halfway through the service, I leaned over and said, I could have run this whole service. Nothing has changed. And I still didn't have to think about what I was saying. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved it. There is a beauty and a comfort to something that that can support you through your whole life, as it did with my parents. And I do miss that as a Unitarian. But I got something in return. I got the freedom to try to work it out for myself. And I got a community to help me do that work. And we all have the freedom and the responsibility to ask the hard questions, to ask the deep questions, and to really try to understand what we believe and what our principles really mean. And this got me to thinking about our church again, both the building and the community that provides a space for us to do that questioning. I Zoom to church most Sundays and rarely think about what's needed to make the whole service come together. But we all know it takes a lot of work, both paid and volunteer. And a lot of work goes into making it happen. Just think of all the committees and all the staff that go into supporting our church. And that finally brought me back to thinking about today's meeting again. This meeting will give us an update on many things: a budget, where we are and where we plan to be, all sorts of interesting things about the various committees. But it'll also give us a chance to support and appreciate our leaders who have put so much of themselves into this work. I encourage you to attend this meeting. I'm confident you'll find it worthwhile. And now I'd like to light the chalice in honor of all the people who make this community work. Thank you. We now invite all those gathered in your various locations to join together in fellowship and community, and as we say aloud, our covenant. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine.
So be it.
Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to be with you and to be joining you from our beautiful sanctuary today. I'm looking out at this empty sanctuary, and yet I see all of you are here with me on Zoom. So we are here together in the sanctuary and in the sanctuary of our hearts. So I invite you now to settle into your seats and settle into that sanctuary that is within your own heart, that place of belonging where you are always loved. And as you settle into that place of your true self, breathing in and breathing out, coming into this present moment, tuning into all that is on your heart and your mind. And if you can imagine sitting with me in the sanctuary, surrounded by your community, being held in love and in care. I invite you to share in your chat whatever is arising for you that is heavy on your heart, that is breaking your heart. Feel free to put it in the chat, and I will share from the chat what's happening the best that I can. Will Crop shares blessings to all up on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. We send our love to all, and to all who will be traveling to Pine Ridge, even though it isn't an official UUCB journey this time. And of course, concern for our son-in-law, Friedrich, in Stockholm, who has COVID. Oh, sorry to hear that, Susan and Tim. And Noor Amina Peterson shares concern for our brothers and sisters in Israel and Palestine. Thank you. And Kitty shares the mental and emotional suffering of so many and the lack of abundant systemic and social care. Amen to that one. Heidi shares forces of separation and chaos continuing to move in our country. Thank you, Heidi. And McTell shares the loss of a wonderful Catholic priest in Albuquerque, the son of a UU couple in First Unitarian. Thank you for sharing that. And Mary Hill shares that my husband of 31 years passed 3 weeks ago from cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mary. And Billy shares that concern for my family after the loss of my grandmother, Minnie, age 94. And joy and diminishing concern. And my dad, John, has returned home and is recovering from successful bypass surgery Monday. Sending love and holding each of you through losses and through physical challenges. And Mary Deneen shares sending love to Ingrid, who continues to need us to volunteer and support her, Mary Deneen. Thank you very much. In fact, Annie Ball just went running through here a moment ago. So hello from everyone, from Ingrid and the family. And whatever is on your heart, spoken and unspoken, know that you are being held and that you are not alone. And as I hear the sprinkles coming on the roof of our building, I invite you to also share what is nourishing you, what you are grateful for, the joys in your life, the anniversaries, birthdays. And I just want to lift up our first joy of the great news from our search committee of having Reverend David Schwartz as our candidate for ministry. I also want to share from Mary Neff. So grateful to be together right now. May we hold the suffering and violence in the world with compassion and spacious hearts. Thank you, Mary. Chris Zanoni, thank you. Delighted to have son Josh visiting from San Diego this weekend and celebrating our grandson Eric's birthday in person all together. Sounds like quite a milestone. And thank you, Alan, for mentioning that you're so excited to meet Reverend David Schwartz. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, I have to say, and he's awesome. I think you're going to love him. I'm grateful for spring and everything is so green. Mary Deneen, thank you. Springtime and renewed hope. Thank you, Bonnie. And Kitty shares our amazing youth and the opportunity to be of service in joy and spirit. Yahoo. And I just want to lift up the reason I'm here at the church is our children had in-person class today, and we had so much fun outside. It was wonderful to be with everyone. Gardening, looking forward to the trip to Pine Ridge, and children in the house once again, Karen Churnside. And Will Crop from our awesome graduates. Yeah, woohoo! That would include Marlon, who just graduated. And brunch yesterday with Paula Bass, awesome. Woo! Picnic with our older YRUU friend this week. And children's lessons this morning. How wonderful. Go ahead and keep those coming as we start to turn inward, thinking of all the ways that we create community by showing up together, whether it's on Zoom or someday again in person. We are holding each other with love. I know there have also been some anniversaries and some birthdays. So sending love to all of you through all the milestones in your lives. And for all these blessings and concerns, as well as those that remain silently on our hearts, we hold this compassionate space with love. Thank you for all of the ways that you bless each other.
I invite you into a time of meditation. You can find a comfortable position where you're seated. Perhaps just take a moment to move any head, shoulders. You can rock your hips and just find a spot that feels good to settle. If you like, with your feet on the floor. Notice your breathing. Maybe notice if you weren't taking full breaths, you can invite that now. And as you settle into this meditative space, I invite you to focus your attention, and if it helps at first to use your hand, you can place your hand just on your navel and as a guide. I invite you to focus your attention just in the center of your belly, behind your navel. When you have that spot, you can relax your hands, rest them. And notice your breathing. As you breathe in, expanding your belly, feeling your belly contract as you breathe out, like filling up a balloon. Focusing on that center point behind your navel for a few more breaths. And in a moment, we're going to begin just letting ourselves hum on our exhale, just a low, solid note hum. Mm. And as you breathe out, each time you exhale, finding a hum, noticing what pitch you might want to do. Each time you exhale, perhaps trying a different pitch. And I'll mute myself for just a couple of minutes, and I'll set a timer so we can all hum whichever pitch we like freely. So continue this practice, breathing, focusing on the navel, and humming on the exhale. Go ahead and take one last hum and then return to breathing. Noticing now as you do, what has changed? How does it feel now to be in your body? Notice what you have a desire to do right now. Do you want to keep humming? Or do you want to get up and flee? To fight or to freeze? Or perhaps to rest? Whatever it is, just notice how that feels. How it feels to be connected to your breath in this moment. Spirit of life, we feel you humming inside of us. Our own life force. The sheer fact that we are here in our bodies is delightful. Thank you. Thank you for this reminder that spirit lives in sensation. Help us to remember our song, to stay tuned into the preciousness that moves through all things. Help us to hear the symphonies in the great family all around us and add our own harmony. Remind us that our voice is a gift, a balm, a light. Blessed be.
Today's reading is entitled Spilling the Light by Reverend Teresa Soto. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. That's only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us instead of keeping a bright line to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and in place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone as though you were made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together we will chase away the sickness, and the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth.
Thank you, Ray. Several years ago, in that pre-pandemic fabled time, I found myself deeply struggling. I felt unsure of my life's direction, devoid of inspiration, stuck in a painful place. I remember taking a walk around an unfamiliar neighborhood where I would be staying a night away from home. I set out on a stroll after dinner, looking for some sense of where I was heading on my life's path. Then I realized I was lost. Now I was not only metaphorically, but truly physically unsure of my place in the world. And it was starting to get dark. And then I heard it. The call from above me. Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo. It was the call of a great horned owl perched in the tree nearby. I stood there awestruck, listening to the owl, and then watching as the owl alighted and soared gloriously above my head. After a few moments of wonder, I struck out on a path in the direction that I suspected might be my home for that evening. It was then that I noticed a flash of rusty red among the small hills of the rolling green. Was that a... Yes, it was. Two. No, three little foxes were playing and exploring the territory. I discreetly watched them from a distance, delighting in their presence and totally in the moment, grateful to be a part of their world. When they finally wandered off further than I could follow, I came back to my body and found myself transformed. Now, perhaps you can relate to my feeling of elation and awe, or maybe you're wondering just what happened as I wandered a new neighborhood at dusk. Now, for me, owl and fox have long been animal guides, particular presences that I have cultivated relationships with and looked to for support. And so seeing them both on one evening stroll sent me a clear message. I'm on the right path, and though I cannot see what comes next, I must remain open. And on a physical level, the heaviness and turmoil I felt inside gave way to peace and ease. Recall a time when you felt peace and ease. Do you remember the physical sensation of that experience? Perhaps it was just moments ago. Although everything was not resolved in my heart, for the first time in a while, I felt I could relax and trust the path that was unfolding before me. Now, not long after this incident, a song came to me. It came one evening, nearly all at once and fully formed, as songs sometimes do. And because I'm going to spend some time today talking about a few lines of this song and what they may mean, I need to clarify for you how I understand the nature of creative inspiration. I see the songs that come to me as independent entities existing outside myself. Sometimes when my inner radio dial is tuned to the right frequency, I pick up a transmission. The song is mine not because I created it from within my own mind, but simply because I put in the labor to bring it into the material world. In this way, I do not have the final word on the meaning of a song I write. It is fully possible to bring a song into being without understanding it at all. I only know what I experienced when it came to me and how I've experienced it since. Can you relate to this? For those of you with children, you know how much effort we put into growing and raising these little beings, yet we cannot fully know them, and we certainly do not control them. They have lives of their own. I was born to tend this flame. Ancestors danced and sang. What seeds now must I sow? Oh, my love, it's time to know. The melody of this song is significant to me, the way it dances and reminds me of old-time American and Irish fiddle tunes. It's reminiscent of a style of music that lives in my bones, a part of my ancestry and an ongoing source of inspiration. And although all the verses of this song are of value, I want to talk today only about the first verse, for in some ways, I think it contains everything. The song starts with the line, I was born to tend this flame. Right away, the protagonist makes a claim that indeed they were born with purpose, that they are here in this moment with a job to do. Does this feel true to you? Do you believe that you have a purposeful existence? And were you born into this purpose? For Unitarian Universalists, our first principle affirms the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And our seventh principle affirms our relatedness, our connection to all things. And I would argue that these two truths, our worth and our relatedness, necessarily suggest purpose. Simply by being in community, the spark of meaning is created. We are here with each other and perhaps for each other. The line goes further, claiming that I, you, all of us were born for something, and that something involves tending. This suggests to me a through line, a connection that existed before we were born and will continue after we are gone. Perhaps this life is in some ways a relay race, taking the torch for a while and then passing it on to others. Simply by proclaiming, I was born to tend this flame, we are saying something about our relatedness to those who tended that very flame before us and those who will tend this flame after we are gone. I think about Russell Means, a Lakota elder and activist who was instrumental in the American Indian movement. And Means wrote, "Our ancestors are our constant witness and companion. They know everything. They are a part of us as we a part of them. In this way, an American Indian is never a solitary or lonely individual. Existential angst is unknown. We know who we are, and we are never alone. We are part of something greater than ourselves." End quote. Now, listening to this now, I'm guessing you have at times felt completely alone. I'm guessing you have wondered who you are and what all this is for. And although Means is talking about the Lakota people in his book in particular, I believe that all of us come from cultures and peoples that at one point in the past held a similar concept of relatedness across time. If it's not part of your experience now, what would it be like to have constant witnesses and companions? That brings me to the second line of the song. Ancestors danced and sang. I invite you to entertain the notion that when you were born, your ancestors danced and sang, celebrating your entrance into the world. Now, how does that feel? Perhaps it seems absurd, or perhaps you feel it is deeply true. However it lands, I invite you to notice your reaction in your body. Your ancestors danced and sang. The second line of Tend This Flame invites us to consider that the past is not gone at all, but in fact is right here with us, even partnering with us in this life. We have inherited both burdens and blessings from those who came before, and patterns established long ago continue to play themselves out moment to moment in our lives. When it comes to trauma and cycles of harm, we of course want to seek to heal and transform the hurt. Yet I do not think it is helpful nor possible to seek to free ourselves from the past entirely. Seeking to cut all ties only leaves us unmoored and in denial about the ways in which the past is still with us. Perhaps instead, we can seek the companionship of those allies who celebrate our existence. For me, I see this as a reciprocal relationship. In every moment, I imagine that my ancestors are singing me into being, helping me to be incarnate on the earth. Now, whether you take this literally or metaphorically, it puts some weight to this life, a sense of healthy responsibility. I was born and nurtured into life based on the efforts of others, gifted a chance to be here now. How do I respond to this sense of giftedness? In my best moments, when I am in touch with my gratitude, I want to feed and nurture the life within me and around me. As my ancestors dance and sing for me, I dance and sing for them and for all my relations. And this cycle of reciprocity allows life to flourish. The next line of the song is a question: what seeds now must I sow? The question is so basic, yet deeply crucial. If indeed we are all here for a purpose, partnering with a helpful cloud of witnesses and active supporters, well, what then do we work towards? Now, while the specifics are unique to each of us, I've been wondering lately if all our work can be summed up in 2 words: culture building. Now, you may wonder what I mean by culture building. Now, let me start with the wisdom of author, activist, and therapist Resmaa Menakem. I have his book here, and used our humming practice today that came from here. And he writes in my grandmother's hands, trauma decontextualized in a person looks like personality. Trauma decontextualized in a family looks like family traits. Trauma in a people looks like culture. So Resmaa teaches that the only way to change systemic cruelty, for example, is to build a culture that perpetuates. Let me go back there. Let me read this quote again because I think it's important. Trauma decontextualized in a person looks like personality. Trauma decontextualized in a family looks like family traits. And trauma in a people looks like culture. So Resmaa teaches that the only way to change systemic cruelty, for example, a culture that perpetuates violence against Black and brown bodies, is to build a different culture, right? To build a different culture. Now, we must do the work of culture creation if we have a prayer of not passing on the same pain patterns to future generations. We desperately need cultures that can hold and metabolize difficult emotions and traumatic experiences. So here's the question that I believe is driving this song, Tend This Flame. How do we do the work of culture building and create the communal resilience necessary for life to thrive? How do we do the work of culture building and create the communal resilience necessary for life to thrive? We're in a global crisis on so many levels, and so how we answer this question is of no small significance. Resmaa Menakem reminds us that we do not need to answer this with strategies and plans. In fact, that level of thinking, he says, will not bring us any closer to a solution. The work of culture building starts in our bodies. And it grows when we come together and interact with intention and awareness. So, then how do we know what to do? This brings us to the last line of the verse. Oh, my love, it's time to know. The best time to know is right here, right now. And the best time gives us a clue as to how we know. We know by showing up and being present in the moment. We are entering into an emerging future, and the plans and strategies of the past are not sufficient if we are to create a world where all life can thrive. So when we hear the line, "Oh, my love, it's time to know," it's important to explore what type of knowing we are talking about. We've all been faced with situations in the past year and a half, I would suspect, that our previous experience did not prepare us for. Am I right? So how are we to know what to do in these spaces? These spaces in which we have no map to guide us. We must access a kind of knowing that lives in the body. And for our bodies, who have no concept of past or future, right now is the only time. So, when we practice being present, we can begin to let our bodies inform our actions. It's a slow process for most of us to get in touch with our bodies with the kind of awareness and the subtlety that this work requires of us. Even a simple practice like trying on a truth by speaking it aloud as if it were true and noticing how true it feels in my body has taken me years to cultivate, and I don't feel I'm anywhere near mastery. So what practices do we need so that we can stay in our integrity and maintain connection with others when something new arises, when we are startled or challenged, when we are fearful, when we're confused, so that we can say, okay, in this moment, I don't know the next right step, but I know how to settle, I know how to listen, and I'm willing to stay with this until the next right thing emerges. I'm willing to let truth unfold. When we are able to settle in our bodies, to access a sufficient sense of safety, to move away from reactivity, we begin to get in touch with our own purpose. We are able to remember or to discover who we are and live into who we are called to be. I believe that if we get together and practice, it is possible to build a new culture. And for Resmaa Menakem, he says the work of healing racialized trauma will take at least 400 years. The other traumas woven into our societal frameworks aren't likely to move much faster. So don't expect to solve it all tomorrow. Yet, it's time to get a move on, to take a stroll through unfamiliar territory, asking for a sign. To what have we promised ourselves? I return to the words of Reverend Teresa Soto. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. Only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected, this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone, as though you're made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth. The work of building culture and creating communal resilience starts right here. It starts with recognizing the spark of life that you were born to tend. That flame grows as you perceive that you are never truly alone, but part of a larger family connected across time. As we show up together to chase away the sickness and the secrets, we trust that we have what we need inside of us. In January of 2020, I recorded Tend This Flame in a professional studio with my band. And we recorded not just one song, but a whole concept album of that title. I felt strongly that the message and the music needed to be expressed to uplift and encourage all who will listen to spill their own light. And then, of course, a pandemic hit and the album release was lost in the cacophony. That's the way of the world sometimes. The impact of that effort or any other may not show itself for years to come. As Jewish tradition teaches us, it is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it. Tending to your peace, your patch of earth, your flame is enough. And so here we are, friends. The time is now. The knowing is with you. The flame inside you. Let's sow new seeds together.
I was born to tend this flame. Ancestors danced and sang. What seeds now must I sow? Sow my learning in the ground, spark of spirit all around. What makes my heart so low? Oh, my love, it's time to know. Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Oh, my love, it's time to know. When sickness is our health, when murder is our wealth, what makes to heal a soul? Oh, my love, it's time to know. Oh, my darling. Oh, my
This is not doing much for me.
love, it's time to know. The flag that makes me white takes brown and black lives. Where must my privilege go? Oh, my love, it's time to know. Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Oh, my love, it's time to know.
this chain, roll the clouds and make it rain. What anchor must I hold? Oh, my love, it's time to know. Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Oh, my love, it's time to know.
Homeless and estranged from her family, Julia, not her real name, is now working as a surgical tech at Boulder Community Health, following her Bridge House Ready to Work program graduation. She has been reunited with family. None of this would have been possible without the hand up provided by Bridge House and the Ready to Work program. This is another success story from Bridge House, who believe there's nothing in the world that can stop us from creating opportunities to help people get a foothold, to overcome their challenges, and to go beyond all expectations. There's nothing in the world that can stop us from thinking of new, creative, awesome solutions to change their future and the future of the community. You can make a donation now using the link posted in our chat by sending a check to UUCB or scanning the QR code on the next slide with your mobile phone. Please be as generous as you can. We will now receive the offering. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community. Thank you.
I am you are me. That's what I said. I am you are me. Don't you see? I am you are me. That's what I said. I am you are me. Don't you see? I am you are me. That's what I said. I am you are me. Don't you see? I'm over here and you're over there. That's what I said. Something between us that's greater than there. Don't you see? I'm over here and you're over there. That's what I said. Something between us that's greater than there. Don't you see? I'm over here and you're over there. That's what I said. Something between us that's greater than there. Don't you see? I'm over here and you're over there. That's what I said. Something between us that's greater than there. Don't you see? I'm over here and you're over there. It's just in between us that's greater than there. Seems like I'm over here and you're over there. It's just in between us that's greater than there. Seems like I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. what I say. Something between the Christmas cradles and cherry trees. I'm a turkey, I'm a baby. That's what I say. Something between the Christmas cradles and cherry trees. I am in your day. It's a secret between us, but it's only me. I am in your day. It's a secret between us, but it's only me. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start.
I am a part of you. You are a part of me. Friends, as you prepare to leave this space today, just place one hand over your chest. Inside of you, there is a song. Inside of you, there is a spark, a light, a flame. Feel the warmth there. Will you sing your song? Will you spill your light? Will you tend the flame given to you? A flame that one day you will pass on to others. Our worship comes to a close, but our service has just begun. Go forth in the power of this knowing. Amen and blessed be.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
We invite you to stay with us in our Zoom rooms for a time of online fellowship and discussion. Today, we will only have one round of discussion groups in order to make time for the annual meeting. And while I'm on the subject of the annual meeting, there is a different Zoom link for the annual meeting, which is available to you in the email and in the various documentation. So be sure and use that link. Thank you very much. Barb, Fred, are you here to tell us what's going on?
I'm Barb Richards. Christopher, it was great to see Renowin. Oh, she's growing up. Loved having you today. Thank you.
And I'm Fred Cole, and I just want to let you know that the room for the annual meeting will be open at about 10 minutes of 12. The meeting will start at 12. So after the breakout rooms, you'll be able to go directly to the other one, but you must sign in again. Have a great day, everybody. Yeah.
Oh, look at her. Oh, she's darling.
Okay, I'm going to create these breakout rooms, and then I'm just going to end the Zoom meeting at that point so that you have time to reorganize yourself for the annual meeting. So you won't be returned to this place. You'll just be put to sleep until you sign back in. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Put to sleep.
Morning, Steve.
Hi, Tom.
Uh,
Ali, I'm going to assign you to a breakout room. I know you just arrived. Let me put you right here.
Thank you.
Okay. What can I do for you, Tom?
oh, I missed what you said about getting into the annual meeting.
There evidently is a different link. I haven't seen it spelled out anyplace. You know, it's one of those links where it just says click here. It's on the website, and it was also in the email where you got information about the annual meeting that came on Friday, 21st.
Okay, please join us again at noon for our annual congregational meeting. Oh, okay, it was in this morning's email as well.
Yeah, as well as this morning's, yes.
Okay, well then that'll be the big show that I'll make sure to come back for.
Okay. All right. And the rest of you folks, Tom, Janet and Bob, David, good to see you. Judy and another David. You can hang out here for a moment if you'd like, but otherwise you should have gotten an invitation to go to one of the breakout rooms.
Steve, we're hanging out here eating lunch, and I'm gonna host the annual meeting. So I'm just waiting to see when you sign off so I can sign back in.
Very well. Okay.
So, but it was a nice service, and it's nice to see y'all.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan, you're muted. And Mr. Cuddington. Haven't seen you in a while.
Good morning, Steve.
How are you?
Oh, is this Dave Coleman, whose phone is up here?
Yeah, I haven't heard David speak, but he's still signed in evidently.
Well, you know, it's strange because I saw another view with his picture, but it also had this Dave's, iPhone separately. So I wondered if he was logged in twice or if there's another David that I don't know about.
Yeah, don't know.
So that was a great sermon, eh?
It was.
Yeah. So is Christopher still up in Fort Collins?
Mm-hmm. With Gretchen?
Yeah, because I know that isn't his wife also a minister and is involved in UUA admin stuff or something like that?